Heightened in the midst of numerous socio-political, economic, and security challenges besetting Nigeria as a nation, the calls for devolution of power and restructuring have gained momentum as agitations by regional groups are spiraling. It is against this backdrop that I invite you to join in this conversation as we discuss the topic, will restructuring and devolution of power solve Nigeria's problems? I am Olujoke Mosaku on Let's Talk. Hello and welcome. With me in the studio is Mr. Salis Muhammad Abdulsalam. He is a reality speaker and convener of Movement for the Rights of Almajiri Child, Morak. Stay with us. Thank you so much, sir, for coming on the show. It's indeed a privilege and honor to have you.
You're welcome.
All right. Okay, the topic, like I said, is will restructuring and devolution of power solve Nigeria's problems? The 2020 Global Terrorism Index identified Nigeria as one of the most dangerous places in the world to live in due to insurgency. What is your take on this?
Well, that is not wholly right. We cannot be referred to, or our location cannot be referred to as one of the most dangerous places to live, because you have over 200 million people living here, so it cannot be that dangerous. If it is that dangerous, we will now be migrating, and then you know what will happen to the other African countries or neighboring African countries if it is that dangerous. I don't think they'll be able to handle, migrants from Nigeria, so it is international.
There has been agitations for a breakup with Biafra taking the lead in the southeast, Yoruba Nation in the southwest, and the Miyetti Allah Kautal or said the Fulani ethnic group is more than ready for a divided nation. Do you think these agitations will bring the needed solution that Nigeria needs at this time?
The agitations are genuine. They will not bring the needed solutions if we still want to have a united Nigeria. No matter how genuine it is, the modus operandi that makes it valid or invalid. It is the modus operandi that actually makes it what is it called, appealing or not. Any agitation that is introduced through violence will not get the needed support, and then it is only going to serve a retrogressive purpose, because at the end of the day, do your agitation, and then if you eventually succeed, you will not spend agitations except that of the south, except that of the southeast. The southwest, the agitation is new, and it is not something that so many people are reckoning with at the moment, because states like Ogun State, states like Ekiti State will be considered one of the very peaceful locations in Nigeria today. So the agitation there is new, and then it is not as wide, and then it is also not as acceptable as seen in the southeast. So any agitation that will be done through violence will always have a challenge.
Now, moving forward, what about devolution of power? Would you say that power should no longer be centralized?
Devolution of power, as you mentioned in the topic, related to restructuring. What power are we talking about here? We're talking about power in governance. Are we talking about economic power? Are we talking about numerical power? What power are we talking about? Because I remember clearly the president not too long ago, in fact, this 2021, did sign into law, you know, devolution of power, where especially the third tier of government is concerned, you know, autonomy for judiciary, autonomy for local government. So if you're talking about devolution of power where governance is concerned, yes, it requires to require restructuring. But do we have a restructured system of governance? We've had systemic failure for too long that it has actually affected the attitude of majority of Nigerians, where our value system today is considered warped. So it doesn't matter where the power lies. The most important thing is, are we going to make judicious use of that power? If you talk about devolution of power, bringing solutions to marginalization, no matter how small a settlement is in Nigeria, you will still have oppressors in that settlement. It's an attitude thing, you know? So even if you say Southeast, take your own government within a state, that is why things like zoning system became popular, because there are certain people that will never be heard if they don't have an arrangement that will rotate it and it gets to them. So these are some of the things we need to examine. Yes, restructuring will be required. Devolution of power, yes, but what kind of power? So I think we need to address, like you have the National Orientation Agency and other bodies, you know, established by act, established by the government over the years, that are supposed to actually address this issue, you know, of the Nigerian attitude. Look at today, people going to cut railway lines and cut away all the infrastructure there. That kind of so devolution of power, yes. Are we talking about economic power? What kind of power are we talking about? Power and governance, yes. We need to step it down. The concentration in the center is high. But when you check it very well, you find that 51-49. Does the federal government really have that much? 49-51% economic control. Do they have that much? There's so much power in the states. The states actually hold the federal government to ransom most times. So when you want to actually, you know, send power down, you find that the states will actually hijack it. Today, devolution of power, autonomy of the judiciary, autonomy of the legislature, autonomy of the local government is being stifled by the state governors. So these are areas where we need to look at and then see how we can address first before we talk about other aspects of the power.
So how do we address this issue? Because I know when the local governments were able to exercise their power, things are actually going on well. Things went well, but since the time that such a thing happened, it's as if the state government has taken the whole power and is like tampering on all this local government. Maybe that's why it looks as if people are really suffering in that area, and the only time they get to eat the dividend of democracy is when election is coming, where politicians will go to these zonal, to these zones or wards to actually give them some things that they feel they need at that time. So let's talk about the pros and cons of this devolution of power.
Yeah, when I talk about attitude here, first and foremost, do we have the attitude to practice a presidential system of government as copied from the USA? We don't have the attitude. We did not prepare ourselves attitudinally before embarking on this system of government. That is where the problem lies from the onset. Because you have a situation whereby, for instance, a governor moves in a convoy of about 20, 30 cars. He has a deputy governor. By implication, you find out that so many people have been deployed to maintain that status. A speaker in the legislature moves in a convoy. The National Assembly Senate President moves in a convoy about 20 cars. That attitude is not right for the kind of democracy we copied. America does not do it that way. It's very expensive. So today you find that if we need say 8% of our population, as policemen, we need a standing army of 1% of our population. Do we have 2 million soldiers in Nigeria? So even if we have 300, 400 policemen, 50% of them are involved in VIP operations. So it's that attitude is wrong. So at the end of the day, you find that the center we're talking about, that we want to reduce the power, even the state government too has that kind of center. So if you cannot do things in the state capital, if you do not have connections in the state capital, you will not enjoy your rural life. So the states also are too strong in the capital, and the power now, revolves around the governor. So when you talk about devolution of power, it leaves the federal government, it comes to the state government. The state governors too hold that kind of power, just the way you see it in the presidency, just the way you see it in the leadership of the National Assembly. So when you come to the local government now, when they do have the power to, I hope we will have the attitude for the common man in the local government to be able to benefit, from those excesses. These are the problems we have. So if you have devolution of power, if you you crack it down from the federal level, it comes to the state, it must go down to the ward level. At the state level too, just the way the presidency behaves, that is how the governors too also behave. We need to tamper with the constitution to address some of these issues, to reduce executive power. If we're talking about devolution of power, it is the power of the executive that we need to reduce, not the nomenclature of the office.
Thank you very much. Let's quickly go on this break, and when we come back, we continue from there. So stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, the program is Let's Talk, and the topic has been, will restructuring and devolution of power solve Nigeria's problems? I have been speaking with Mr. Salis Muhammad Abdulsalam. He is a reality speaker and convener of Movement for the Rights of Almajiri Child, Murak. So let's continue. Thank you once again, sir, for being here. As we move on, how are the countries that went through secession doing? What will be the survival rate of citizens if it eventually happen in Nigeria?
It is going to be terrible. Well, everybody, so many people are used to giving examples with South Sudan and Sudan, and a few other countries, Eritrea, Ethiopia. You can see what is happening in Tigray now. Now, I want to tell you this, as somebody who has been working with IDPs, somebody who has worked in the most complex location where peace building is concerned, which is Jos. I'll tell you that if for any reason secession happens, and it happens violently, it is going to be a very, very difficult situation. So many lives will be lost. And then what we had in 1970, which I have a little idea of because I was just a couple of years old then, cannot repeat itself now. It was better then because of our numbers. The losses then will be considered less compared to our numbers today and the number of investment of Nigerians across the country. Here in Jos, you have what you call, for example, segmented living, where areas, people populate areas to live behind. That is, Muslims separate, Christians live religious and tribal. Even within Jos, in a location where you have spent 20, 30 years on property, you have a challenge of coming back to claim that property because of conspiracy of silence. You can imagine where you will have to come from another part of the country to come and claim that property. The losses will be high. So all this eventually will not do us any good. Now, I believe that grievances can be addressed, but I insist as a peace worker that we should find ways of addressing these grievances through mediation, through dialogue, not through violence. Through violence, we create enmity. The biggest challenge we have in Nigeria today, I tell you as a peace worker in the field, is we are beginning to find it, an anomaly is becoming normal for people to seek revenge instead of seek justice. And once you seek revenge, you keep having retaliation and reprisal attacks. So secession has to be through referendum, has to be through some very peaceful ways, not, through violence. And that is where I think, we will miss the point. Compared to other countries that have done that, like South Sudan today, we can see it. I don't think they even have a recognized president. With all the oil wealth, they have one of the highest refugee casualties. They have the highest numbers of internally displaced persons, and they have not been able to even embark on any infrastructural development. So it is one big lesson we need to learn from. It's a give and take situation. So I think we need to look at it carefully, and we need to be we need to be cautious, very, very, very cautious about it.
But with the way things are going, it's actually becoming the talk of the day, where people are not just ready for anything, especially with the Southeast agitation.
The Southeast agitation, like I said from the beginning, is a fundamental human right. If I don't want to be your neighbor, you can't compel me to be your neighbor. But what I'm saying is, if you want to go peacefully, because it will be detrimental for you if you go violently. So now you have three categories of people, as we understand, sitting down in the north. We have three categories of people in the Southeast. Those who the Nigerian government does recognize as leaders from the Southeast, be they political, religious, economic, whatever kind of leaders that, the government dialogues with, those who have the mantle of leadership recognized by the Constitution. In the Southeast, you have those that are neither saying anything about the secession, because of their economic interest around the world and around the country. That's another set of people that quietly do not want the secession. Then you have the other set that want it outrightly, and it must be today. So who are we discussing with here? That's the problem. So when Northerners get attacked or their interests gets destroyed in the Southeast, the government talks to those that are recognized with the legitimate leadership instrument, executive, legislative, traditional, religious. Some of them were with the president. I know some of them held a meeting yesterday, cutting across all this. So at the end of the day, they are not even in a position to solve the problem of the aggrieved northerner in the southeast, because those who want that secession today are those who are actually causing the harm. So it's a very, very, very dicey situation. So you, on one hand, somebody is telling you, I'm your neighbor here. I have not done anything wrong to you. We've lived peacefully. You've given me land to buy in the north. I own properties. You understand? Because of that, you cannot rise and start attacking such a person. On the other hand, the other person is telling you, I'm the legitimate governor, I'm the representative, I am the legislator, we are going to solve this problem. And on the third hand, somebody is still there causing the damage. It's a very, very, very dicey situation. So as peace practitioners, we have been putting pressure on the youths in the north not to retaliate. That is why we keep insisting. If you want to go, please let us discuss so that it will be peaceful. Bear it in mind that you will have interest, blood interest even, of kinsmen outside your region, and they need to also be carried along, in your decisions when you take some of these irrational undertakings. So these are part of the thing. So it doesn't matter what the world says. This is the reality I'm telling you. The losses will be catastrophic.
June 12th has always been celebrated as Democracy Day. And from your own point of view, what celebration is there for us to actually celebrate, and what is the way forward?
The celebration there is our ability to be able to govern ourselves. It might not necessarily be democracy as a whole, because, like I mentioned from the beginning of the discussion, that we copied it from the US, and then it will interest you to know that we run a British system of administration. These files we push in these ministries is a British have an American with an executive structure. So you see, all these things do not allow things to work. And then look at the Nigerian attitude. So if you look at democracy in South Africa, democracy in Egypt, and all these other countries were fashioned after the attitude of their people, and it's working for them. In South Africa, the party tells you, as a party leader, you step down and you resign as president. It can never happen in Nigeria because we copy the system that does not, conform with our attitude. It's a big problem. So we are not really celebrating absence of military rule because the army is even too occupied now to think of governance and so on and so forth. So there is so much to celebrate. Well, because you have the civil rule. We have the opportunity to decide to a certain level, who governs us, or who leads the country, or who leads us in the political arena. But we still need to correct that attitude. There's so much use of money. It beclouds even the credibility, it beclouds the quality of even the candidature, and then we view every other quality from a religious and ethnic lens. So these are the three things that is making our democracy not to be as enjoyable as it is supposed to be. Every criteria for suitability is viewed from an ethnic, religious, and a commercial lens. Terrible, terrible attitude for democracy.
Thank you very much, sir. Do you have a final word?
Yeah, my final word is you experience the presence of the Almighty in your life through good deeds of the other person. So I think uh, we're not really making use of our diversity. We're using it instead of us to use it to our advantage, we're using it against us. By this myopic lenses we use to view issues in the country. So I think we will do better. We will prosper better if we use neutral lenses and lenses of credibility to view things. That's my take.
Thank you so much once again, Mr. Salis. It's been wonderful having you. And thank you too for being part of the show. But before I let you go, I would leave you with his word. He said, there is beauty in diversity, so let's make use of it for the good of everyone as a nation. And also, our attitude must change. It must first change if we want the desired result. Until next time, I remain Oluja Kemosaku. Bye for now.